says he has proved they are speeding up time.
So I'm absolutely convinced that they're messing with time, okay? Let me show you something. I set this clock. When the time changed, I had to move it back, right? So it's 11:45, almost 46, right? Now, let me show you something. These clocks, I set to the same time, 11:45, almost 46. But when I look at the time on my iPhone, let me see if I can, here, use my other phone. Look at this. 23:52. 7 minutes off. And that's within a matter of 6 months. Look at this. 45, 45, 45. Why would I go out of my way to set all these 7 minutes off? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't. 52.
This dude might have literally
maybe
proved
10 minutes, but I would do it ahead.
that they're speeding
Why
up
would
time.
I want to be late
Stay weird.
everywhere I go?
Man says he has proved they are speeding up time.
Shalom, shalom. First off, give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakar giving double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS, whom taught me this truth. Salutes and honors to the elect brothers across the four corners who are enduring in both truth and in sincerity. All the men and women who follow, this brother Christ out from the fountain of living waters, coming back at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. This lesson being entitled time being shortened for the elect's sake. So you had this guy to show the video of, them messing with the clocks, and maybe it's a couple 59-second minutes instead of 60-second minutes, and over the course of 6 months, he's down seven minutes, which I believe, of course the scriptures say it, but just going through these comments, this is totally true. My car clock is analog and somehow always fall behind a couple minutes every few months. I always wonder why that was weird. I'd be saying there's no way that these are the same 24 hours as an adult that I had as a kid. Exactly. Even work, like work could be flying by fast. Hey, it's already almost May. We're almost in the 5th month. All right, we're in the middle part of the year. In 2026, I feel like it's just started yesterday. So time is flying. This guy says, watch the moon. It's never where it's supposed to be in the sky. He says they've taken years from us, not minutes. Look to Ethiopia for the real. I don't know about Ethiopia. But this is why everyone feels so tired. Like even in the morning, like when I wake up, like my body clock, normally wakes me up, but it's just like I be waking up earlier and earlier and earlier. I'm rested, but it's off. But whether Esau is messing with the time, ultimately it's being commissioned by the Most High. So so we'll read the point, and then we're going to jump back up and just see what's going to coincide with the point. All right, Lord, what is edifying. So this is Matthew 24 and 22. It says, except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days should be shortened. So it's speaking about the end times, that the days are going to be shortened, right? Because if they didn't shorten the days, there would be no flesh be saved. Esau would basically, and this is speaking about more than just actual, like the time being shortened. This is, the Lord coming back to redeem his people so that they don't be destroyed as well. That the long game is going to be over. Okay, if that makes sense. The Lord is going to come back and redeem his people. He's not going to suffer us, too much longer. So let's go back, like I said, and read, about these perilous times. So Matthew 24:15. It says, when ye therefore shall see the Slakia. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains. Now, originally, this is speaking about 70 AD when the Romans came and took Jerusalem. Yahweh told them, go flee to the mountains to escape. So if you do the research, I think they said there was a few million Jews who fled Jerusalem into Egypt and into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution. So that was the beginning of that diaspora. But this is also speaking about today in these times, because uh let's get the scripture. Bear with me. It's Isaiah 59:19. It says, so they shall fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. Right? And that flood of enemy soldiers, that's what happened to Jerusalem in 70 AD. That's what's going to happen to Babylon here in these times. So verse 17 says, let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. Right? So, like, it's going to be a dire situation. You ain't got time to, pack a bag and, get your pictures together, all your family heirlooms, auntie me, or go get Meemaw's ashes, or all that BS. No, it's time to go. It says, but pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the seventh day, right? Because it's cold. It's cold in the winter, and you're not supposed to work on the Sabbath. You're not supposed to gather sticks to make a fire. You're not supposed to make a fire. You're not supposed to do a lot of things on that Sabbath day that will require that you will be required to do, in a shit hit the fan situation. So, verse 21 says, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not seen since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor shall be. Right? So, this is speaking about Jacob's trouble. And these are the times that we're getting in. Okay? Gas prices are steadily rising. Once this gas hits, a certain amount, right now, I know diesel. Let me see, it's like $5 and up. I think some places up to almost $7. It's like it's came down a little bit ago. Basic info: U.S. retail diesel price is currently at $5.40, down from $5.60 last week, but up from $3.57 from a year ago. So all this business that's going on in the Straits of Hormuz, with Iran and Trump putting a blockade against the Strait of Hormuz. Like, what kind of sense do that even make? You going to war, you angry and upset about them blocking the strait, but then they say, okay, cool, we're not going to block the strait, and then you say, okay, well, we're going to put a navy there to block it. You can't block it, we're going to block it. Either way it goes, no oil is getting through. but it's a lot more to that than just them blocking it. They had to retool because Iran was kicking their ass. They didn't want to tell you that it's over 900 soldiers that Iran have killed already. But and they had to bring in more troops, bring in more weapons, more you know, just more utility to try to combat what was turning out to be a much better fight that Iran is putting up than most believed. So this is causing, you know, all of this is the beginning of sorrows. You know, all this is just the beginning. But it says, except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh saved. But for the elect's sake, those days should be shortened. So the Most High is shortening the days. He's causing things like this to happen. He's you know putting it in the spirit of his men and of the world. That something big is coming. You can feel it. In the air. If you in tune with the spirit, then that we at the end of this thing. So let me get this. Really, the point is like 4 or 5, but this is so good. We're going to start at verse 1. It says, "He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou," it's like second Ezra 9:1, "and he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I told thee before, then thou shalt well understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made." Right? So know what time you in. You got to know that we are at the end. All right. Even in the Lord's time, He said that it was the end of the end. The end days. How much more now? 2,000 some odd years later, and they've been messing with the time. So who knows what fucking year it really is? You have they uh went from this what's it called, the come on these calendars, the uh Julian calendar, right? You had the Julian calendar, which is a solar calendar of 365 days every year, additional leap year every fourth year. The Julian calendar is still used by the Eastern Orthodox Church, right? And then you got you had the Roman calendar, and now the calendar we use today, which is called the Gregorian calendar, right, right. So the Gregorian calendar is the current international standard calendar introduced in 1582 to a fixed Julian calendar is 11 minute per year era, which has a 10. So it's off by 11 minutes per year, the calendar that we currently use. So they've probably been using that 11 minutes against us, but it says, which is called a 10-day drift from the solar equinox, while having both 365 days and a leap year. The Gregorian system improves accuracy by skipping leap days and centuries, not divisible by 4. It just sounds like a whole bunch of bullshit that they put together. We got day and night, the moon and the sun, and that's the true calendar. So they've been manipulating this shit, for thousands of years. We're not in charge. We're just pawns in their game. Matter of fact, hold on. There was a video that I just watched. Damn, I should have saved it. Give me a second, see if I can find it. Yeah, I can't find that. I knew I should have saved that video, but basically the guy was talking about conspiracy theories, so-called conspiracy theories and whatnot. But his overall arching theme was that you can't you can't trust the government. You're pretty much a mark. If you are trusting in the government, you're just being a good little boy, so to speak. They're programming you, and you're just going along with the programming. That's what's so beautiful about this truth. We separated ourselves. You know, we're not going to the same excessive riot. So let's get back on board. It says, verse 3 says, therefore, when there should be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, let's see, I think I had something with that. Yeah, let's check this out.
Breaking news. This is in Serbia. There was a mass protest. This is the creepiest non-paranormal thing I've ever seen. Watch this. I've watched a lot of videos of protests. I've never seen something like that before. We're about to talk about what the mainstream is saying happened. Here's another angle. This is supposed to be the biggest, one of the biggest protests in Serbia's history, by the way. I've never seen that many people be that quiet before, and then all of them react at the same time. So here's what the mainstream is saying. Now, according to the Globe and Mail, human rights groups and Serbia's opposition officials are accusing the government of using a sonic weapon, an allegation the country's Ministry of Internal Affairs and the Serbian president have denied. And when I Googled this, I saw a notice I'd never seen before. It looks like the results below are changing quickly. If this topic is new, it can take time for reliable sources to publish information. So this is why I sourced the Globe and Mail. This may be a sensitive subject. I use a mainstream source. Let me know your thoughts. Breaking news. This is in Serbia.
Right. So you see, these uproars of the people, these protests have become more and more commonplace. They had the No Kings protests here in America in cities all over the country. You had the so-called Black Lives Matter, and now these ICE protests for, say, Palestine, and all kinds of protests. The 99 versus the 1%, and it says that we are in these last days. If you don't believe that, then man, why are you even in the scriptures? If you can't see that, then you can't see. The Lord don't want you to see. He's blinded you. If you can't tell this, it says, then thou shalt well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before, even from the beginning. He spake them by the words of his men, the prophets, and they spoke them to the people, and they wrote them down in the book. And now in these times, we're interpreting these prophecies and putting one-to-one and showing you, in real time what the scriptures are saying. It says, even so the times also have plain beginnings and wonder and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. And these endings and effects and signs are happening right now in front of us, these powerful works. And the scriptures gave us the signs to look for, right? We just got to keep looking. Uproars of the people, the earthquakes, time speeding up, Esau gathering his troops together, ready to come down like a flood. All these are signs, and they're pointing to the end of the world. So, Lord's will, this is edifying, and we have all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakar giving double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who taught me this truth. Salutes and honors to the elect brothers across the four corners who are enduring in both truth and in sincerity, all the men and women who follow. Shalom.